Hi everyone, it's Allison responding to week 7. The video post question regarding factors that led to anti-government Iranian revolution and whether or not those factors exist in Saudi Arabia, and if they do, what are they? Three factors that did contribute in Iran that could possibly contribute to an anti-government movement in Saudi Arabia do exist, and those are definitely the youth surge, which is occurring throughout the Middle East. More so in Iran, less in Saudi Arabia, but religion, the Muslim faith plays a role in both of those, especially with its relationship to responding to westernization and Western influence regarding rule of law, democratization, and those things. And then also economic factors, which in most situations are tied to the youth surge. So because of limited economic opportunities for youth in both countries, or both nations. So, beginning with the youth surge, this is an issue because we find that there is this large segment of society that is educated, unemployable, and feeling somewhat marginalized, and that there is little hope for progression of their own future. I believe this is It seems, based on the information in the text, that because of these strong familial bonds in Saudi Arabia and all of these social programs that exist in Saudi Arabia, that this would be slightly less in Iran, meaning it might not be as contributing a factor to revolution as it was in Iran. However, the youth surge is a problem. Whether it would lead to revolution, I don't know for sure, even for the ability of the government to squash it. But at the same time, it is definitely an issue, and it is an issue throughout the Middle East. This also has to do with their connection to the outside world, their education, predominantly Western European, and it also includes this rising consensus amongst women in Iran, supposedly more dissatisfied with Islamic restrictions than in Saudi Arabia. But based on what the text said, and Saudi Arabia's inclusion also of women in seeking to examine their role in government and all of that as well. I know that there has been some progress in women's rights and inclusion in Iran as well, but I don't want to discount the strength of their voice in Saudi Arabia. The text noted that women are often the key political advisors to the royal family. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out for female youth in Saudi Arabia. Additionally, religion, it can play a factor as these youth try to figure out what role it should have. In Iran, we've seen that there was a call for more secularization, that the youth want to have some separation of government and state. Probably not as much as the West, but definitely some separation, religion being a little bit more personal and less political. In Saudi Arabia, that is just not the case. It says Islam is the government, or the government is Islam, because of the teachings of the Quran and Surah. So it could be a factor. It seems so far down the road as Saudi Arabia evolves, but again, all of my factors are tied to the youth surge, because as they become disillusioned and feel that is not providing for them, they may seek another alternative. If Islam can't answer the question and provide a solution, what can? And because the government prescribes rule of law, democracy, and all of those things, they may want more information and to experiment with that to see if solutions could be found. The third factor is definitely economic, again tied to youth surge, because there are limited economic opportunities. These are educated people who don't have a way then to make their own, secure their own future, some of them to even get married. What's the greatest degree of separation that I see, and when I say economics, I'm not talking the national GNP and exports of oil and all of that, and the text did go into some of that. I'm just talking about what could lead to a revolution. It's the youth's dissatisfaction with their economic prospects. Finally, with Saudi Arabia, the interesting thing that could unhinge any one of these is the familial tie and the strength of family, and that you're not even necessarily a citizen because you were born there. It's all about where your family originated from. I didn't see that in the study of Iran, and it's interesting to know or to learn more about how that bond, that familial bond, and the expectation of honor above all plays into these three things. I know that Iran has very limited trust. They're very wary of the United States, but in the Saudi Arabia portion of the text, it was very clear that honor should not be broken, that shame should be avoided at all costs. And it discussed President Truman's letter and all of these things, or Eisenhower's letter, but Truman's ignoring it. And it's interesting to see if the youth are bound by that in any one of these, whether it's to the religion, whether it's to their own place in society. They, can't. Is it disloyal then to the family to pursue that without, I don't know, permission, I guess, or grace to do so? So it would be interesting to know what role that would play in all of this as well. So yes, the three factors exist. It's somewhat different, but that youth surge cannot be denied. And where that's going to lead in the next decade remains to be seen as these younger al-Assad family members get positions of authority within the government. So it's exciting stuff, and see you guys on the next post.